Let's look at several other programs. This is a program add.rb that we have learned about. It takes an input data, for example 8 and 3, and computes 8 plus 3. Here is a similar program. They have a strong resemblance. Input x and y. First the variable prod, meaning product, prod, is made to 0, and then it loops. As the value of y decreases by 1 each time, the value of prod is increased just by the value of x, and it loops. To consider what kind of computation is being done here, let's put in 8 and 3, for example. If 8 is put in x, 3 is in y as an input, this repetition or loop will be repeated a number of times, just like before. In the previous program, add.rb, when 3 was put in b just before, it decreased by 1 each time and repeated until the value of b reaches 0. Similarly, in this program, mult.rb, if we have the value 3 in y, for example, the value of y decreased each time by 1, and this is repeated 3 times. As it repeats, 8 is continuously added to prod. So, if y is 3, 8 is added 3 times. That produces an answer 24. That is the answer for 8 plus 8 plus 8, or 8 times 3 was computed. In short, we can do multiplication. So this is a program for multiplication. By this example program, we demonstrated that if we can compute addition, then you can also compute multiplication. You may claim that this program uses operations other than +1 and -1. Certainly, it uses a standard addition. But this addition can be substituted with the program for addition we just created. Written here is the program that computes a plus b. Let's modify it a bit. Here, a and b are given data as an input, but changing it up, if the value of the variable prod is put in a and the value of variable x is put in b, what will be the program would do? Right, it will become the program that computes prod plus x. That can be used here. Let's look at it closely. The program on the left is the one that computes prod plus x to the variable sum. More precisely, once the computations of this program reach to this red point, prod plus x is computed and kept in sum. Now focus on the right-hand side program. This is the original multiplication program. I have inserted some space open for later, but it's the same program as before. Look at, there is no difference. Okay? Let's change it a little bit. Now we have modified it in the following way. First compute prod plus x and put it in sum. Then put the value of sum into the variable prod. Clearly, it does not change the result of the computation. Now look back this left side program again. This is a program that computes prod plus x into sum. So this program can be used here to replace this statement. Okay? We can replace this statement with this program. Then clearly this program does the same computation. Let's take a look at this program. Except for the input and output parts, only +1 and -1 are used. Therefore, it can compute with just a repetition statement and +1 and -1. Of course, we usually wouldn't do this, but this example demonstrates that it is possible in principle. This example shows one more important thing. As we see, this program has 2 repetition statements, and they are in fact nested. Within one repetition statement, we have another one. In other words, As a large outer loop is being executed in each time, a small inner loop must be performed and completed. Like this example, we can nest repetition statements. Looking at this program here, you see some lines are indented a little. The range of this while loop extends from the while spot to the end spot. The lines are indented a little to show this range clearly. And the inner while spot to the end spot are also indented to show the range of the loop, nested loop, more clearly. Indenting lines is called indentation. This doesn't matter at all to computers, but it is important for making the program accessible to people, so please follow this way of writing. Finally, let's add a little to our discussion about programming with Ruby. As previously mentioned, all computations such as multiplication and division were done with +1 and -1, but it will be a pain to write out each step. Therefore, the 4 arithmetic operations can be done in Ruby. These are already prepared. For example, we have addition, subtraction, and asterisk is used for multiplication. A slash is used for division. And the percentage sign, this symbol, expresses the computation for calculating the remainder. 2 multiplication symbols are used for calculating exponentiation, such as x to the power of y. Incidentally, we thought of our data as numbers, natural numbers. Therefore, to be precise, we would prefer for minus numbers not to come up. But minus numbers sometimes come up when performing subtraction. On the other hand, quotient comes up in division. For example, dividing 15 by 2, 7 is calculated, not 7.5. Of course, decimals are also used in Ruby programs. Therefore, 7.5 can be also calculated in some sense. But since we are only considering the calculation of integers and natural numbers in this lecture, please think of it as a calculating quotient or rounded number. There are also conditional expressions. It is an expression for expressing the condition of a while loop, the condition for its end. We had written a simple one, b is greater than 0, but we can write more complicated ones. For example, the condition written above is to proceed as long as b squared is greater than 4 times a times c plus d. This expression combines several conditions. These 2 vertical bars means OR. Therefore, what is written here means a is greater than b or a is greater than c. On the other hand, 2 ampersand sign symbols means AND. Therefore, we have the left thing and the right thing. The symbol exclamation and equal means not equal. This is a comparative symbol expressing not equal. To sum things up, comparisons can use these symbols, and the logical symbols, operators, can be used for combining them. Of course, you don't need to remember all of these. Just look at the table when necessary to refresh your memory about what the symbol means or how to write it. And let's add one more command statement. This command is a conditional branching statement, often called if statement. This is for changing the flow of computation depending on the evaluated condition. The structure of command statement is an if conditional statement as well as else and end. The statement means that if the condition is met, please execute A, and if not, the statement says to please execute B. Graphically, the flow of computation looks like this. For example, in this program, when the condition is met, execute the pink part of this command puts, and if not, execute the dark red part. Thus, this program computes the absolute value of the input integer given to the variable x. A conditional expression has a variation. We may omit what comes after else. In this case, the command statement says to do something when the condition is met. For example, consider that these two programs. Actually, they both compute the absolute value of a given number. For example, -3 becomes 3, and 10 becomes 10. If the number is negative, the program computes its absolute value, that is, positive number. In the right program, abs2.rb, if the input value given to x is less than 0, that is a negative number, then it is changed to its minus value, so it will become a positive number. Otherwise, nothing is done, so as a result, the absolute value is computed. Please remember these two conditional or if statements. Let's summarize. We did a basic introduction to the programming language Ruby. We are limited in the usage since this lecture only handles natural numbers. But I think this was a decent introduction to what a program is. Program is instructions for computations, sequence commands. Basic elements of programs such as variables are common to many languages, not just Ruby. It's a location for storing the intermediate results of computations. Then we have assignment statements, repetition statements, and conditional branching statements, and command statements for performing such computations. There are also input and output statements for interaction with exterior and people. Like my teacher says, there's no need to memorize everything. When you need to do, just study from the book or slides how to write these things. That concludes our discussion of Ruby.